All right, surprise, surprise. I'm back. I was on Sunday, literally yesterday, and I just feel like the once a week is, I don't know, it's not really connecting the way that I wanted to connect. So, I'm back on a Monday and I'm going to be doing random pop-up lives just every chance I get to connect with my Facebook friends and family. And yeah, to talk about the fact that I wrote this book. I am a former foster youth and adoptee. I was adopted out of the foster care system. I experienced a lot of trauma in that system that no kid should be living through, and I wrote a book about it. And I wrote the book for several reasons. When I first started writing the book, I just had finally had it sink in that um, telling my story will be healing for me and healing for whoever reads it. And that was kind of really challenging for me just because, growing up, I was told over and over and over, nobody cares, nobody cares, nobody cares. Like, if I was ever like sad or angry or anything, it would be like, go tell somebody that cares, and that's nobody. So I just really learned how to like be shut down. And then that coupled with family business stays in the family, it just really sets you up to keep things a secret, because family business stays in the family, and all families are the same. Your friends aren't going to tell you what's really going on because family business stays in the family. And besides, nobody cares, right? So those two things really programmed me for being shut down and keeping quiet. And it took years and years and years and years of hearing, tell your story, tell your story. It'll be healing for you. It'll be healing for someone else. And that is what made me even consider, like, maybe I should tell my story. Maybe I should talk about it. Maybe no one will care, but at least it'll bring me some healing. And then after that, I started hearing about, like, if you're an abuse survivor, then keeping the secret is only protecting your abuser. And when I think about my abusers and how they were very concerned with their image and how they appeared to the community and how they appeared to just people, in the community, church, everywhere they went, they had this really good image that they really wanted to protect. So, which is why it was really important for me to be programmed that nobody cares and keep family business in the family to protect their image. So hearing that, you keeping the secret is just protecting your abusers and they were supposed to be protecting you, really started to sink in. Like, you know what? They don't deserve my protection anymore. They don't deserve my protection. They don't deserve me colluding with the lies. So those two things are what made me start to challenge the nobody cares narrative. And I remember like 2016, 2017, I joined a queer theater group called Congregation of Liberation. It was a queer art, queer theater, all working to put together our skits and do this performance, which was called Black Don't Crack. And it was fun. I loved it. I loved rehearsing. I loved everybody I was working with. And it really was healing because, that whole narrative of nobody cares, but here's all these people really helping me put together my part of the play. And we did care about each other's performances. I know I cared about all theirs, and I felt like they cared about mine. So I think that was the first little bit of challenge to nobody cares, nobody cares, nobody cares. And when it came time for our performance, I think we performed it, I want to say 3 times, but I could be remembering wrong. But I do remember that at the end of the performance, people could ask you questions. And, I really didn't expect anyone to ask me anything because, nobody cares. But people did have questions for me. People did come up to me and say, oh my God, I was so moved. You're so strong. You're so brave. That's really powerful. And I was like, I was shocked. I was overwhelmed. I was like, wow, that really challenges that whole narrative that nobody cares, because clearly somebody cared, because they were coming up to me asking me questions and giving me all this positive feedback and affirmations, and it was pretty awesome. So, life happens, people move on to other projects, or somebody don't get along with somebody else, and the group kind of fell apart, and I was really sad about that. But that experience did make me feel like, you know what? I need to tell my story. But I was like, how? I didn't know how, because the play was gone, the play was over. So I wasn't going to be doing this theater performance, and I know, my best friend was doing like, or had done her one-woman show and was, successful with that. But I was like, oh, I don't really want to do a one-woman show. What was so fun about this theater group was a group of us helping each other and supporting each other. So I was like, I don't think that it's going to work out for me. So then I was like, well, somebody asked me if I was going to start a blog, and I was like, a blog? Maybe I should do a blog. Maybe I should do a blog. So I tried to do a weekly blog, but true to form, life be lifing, and depending on my work schedule, it was like 3 weeks no blog, and then 1 week it'd be like just trying to cram all those missed weeks in, or it was just random and sporadic and all over the place. And it just felt like it had no type of direction, like no type of order. It's just like whatever I was feeling in the moment, and it started to feel like a diary. I don't know. I was just like I wasn't feeling the process of the blog. And I was like, you know what? I just need to write a book and just get the whole story out there once and for all. Like, that's what I need to do. I just need to write a book. And I sat down and went to started writing, because I was like, oh, this will be easy. Like, it'll be easy because it's my life. I know my life. And I've had, years and years of on and off therapy. So it's, I'm past the pain of it all. So it should be easy. That's what I really thought. And turns out, yeah, it's still painful. So I would like start writing, and I would need to take a break because I would get a part that was super triggering, or it's almost like reliving it, and then I would take a break, and then I would start back. And then it was a lot of times where I felt like, okay, where do I go from here? Like, where do I segue from here? And I just felt stuck a lot of times. And I was like, oh my God, am I ever going to get this thing finished? And I'm the strong believer that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So just in, talking to a friend who is also an adoptee, she was like, oh, I know who could help. Well, actually, I was talking to her and I was like, you know what? I'm never going to get this finished. I just need a ghostwriter. I just need a ghostwriter to be like, this is the story, write the book. And she was like, no, this is your story. This is your life. It should be from your own words and your own voice. And I was like, but it's never going to get finished. That's not really how I felt. It's never going to get finished. And she was like, you'll feel so much prouder about it if it's your own words, your own voice. And I was like, she's right. She's probably right. So she introduced me to a writing coach. And that really helped me get going with the writing process. So she asked me questions. She told me, well, what happened then and what happened there? And how did you feel that day? And what were you thinking that day? And just really helped me like start getting it out of my system, so to speak. And I would write, and we would meet every week, and we would talk, and then I would write. So that really helped me kind of get like draft one almost completed. And then she got sick and needed to take time off, and that was cool because I feel like I had reached a point where I was like triggered and needed to take time off too. And then when I reached out to her, like, okay, I know you weren't feeling well, how are you doing, and this and that, she was like, oh yeah, I'm good, but now I'm super busy. And I was like, oh no. So she was busy and unavailable. So I was like, man, what I really need is someone who has experience, someone who is an adoptee, someone who maybe is a former foster youth. That's probably what I need. So through my TikTok community, I found someone, and honestly, I didn't think they were going to be available. I was like, this person is super busy, super popular, whatever. But I sent the email. I really did not expect to get to work with this person. And I got a reply and I was like, yay. And then, so this person was my developmental editor, just kind of like with the other lady, like helping me develop the story. So what happened here and then what happened there? Because you seem to jump from this to this with no transition, and really helped me flesh out the story even more so. And introduced me to a copy editor who was going to work on like grammar, punctuation. And I told this person that, I have a tendency to hit a hard part and take a break. And they were like, you don't have time for breaks. Like, when do you want this done? And I was like, I want it done this year. And they were like, well, you just going to have to let the tears flow and just write. Just keep writing. Just keep writing. Just commit to 2 hours a day and keep writing. And I was like, challenge accepted. So that's what I did. I wrote for 2 hours a day. And then there were some weeks where I did not write for 2 hours a day, but then I like made up for that time, like by writing like 4 to 6 hours, over the weekend and things like that. And just kept plugging along and kept plugging along, kept plugging along. And I was like, oh my God, it's getting finished. Oh, I'm so excited. And I learned a lot along the way. I learned so much along the way about healing, and, because I always thought that after so much on and off therapy that, I don't know, that stuff shouldn't faze me anymore, that it shouldn't even bother me anymore, which turned out to not be true. And I think deep down inside, I really believed that I was going to come to a place, this destination of healed, which does not exist. Destination healed does not exist. And I had to grieve that a little bit, that it's like, after all this time, I'm not like 100% cured, and it can't touch me. It can't hurt my heart anymore. And I had to just really look at progress that I've made over the years and celebrate that and feel proud about that. And yeah, maybe I'll never be 100% healed, so to speak, but I've made progress. Like, me at in my 20s and 30s, and how my abandonment issue showed up with, like, like, what do you mean you're going to the store? You're going without me? And crying and just feeling sad about that, and thinking we're supposed to be attached at the hip all the time, has changed. I can't say that my abandonment issues are never triggered, but it's not that. So, hey, progress, go me. So this writing process has really taught me how to celebrate progress over perfection, and really look back at how far I've come and how much growth that I have made. And just realizing, like, a younger me never would have been strong enough to write this, because I would have been still scared and shy about, like, I'm worried about what people will think, who's going to be upset, who's going to feel exposed, who's going to, whatever. And then I think underneath all that worry also was, maybe nobody will care. And that was just as scary as backlash and someone being angry. So my need to get the story out there had to be stronger than the fear of people's reactions and what people would think about it. Or yeah, I just finally got to that place of feeling like, if I live to be 125 years old and this isn't written, like, if I pass away and this isn't written, I will never rest in peace. That's how strongly I had to feel about it. Like, I will never rest in peace. And yeah, I'll just have so much regret, So it's finished, and I am actually very proud of it. After the developmental editor that actually got me to the finish line, then I got another developmental editor to help me, like, um, what am I trying to say? Like, file off the rough edges, like, and really even develop it even more, so it's actually an enjoyable read, even though it's a hard subject. It's hard to read about child abuse. It's hard to read about the things that I lived through, because, like I said, no child should go through that. It really does show how the system is broken, how the system has failed so many children and so many families. And it's just one example of many, and that's the part that's so upsetting to me, that this is just one example of many. If my story was just some weird fluke, that never happens, I'd be like, dang, it sucks to be me. But that usually never happens to people. But the truth of the matter is, now that I have been in community with other adoptees and other former foster youth, there are common themes that seem to repeat too much. That's what lets me know there's something wrong with the system. And now what started out as a project to just heal myself and maybe a few other people that read it has turned into, like, full-blown advocacy and wanting to build a team of wildflowers to bust through concrete to make change. I didn't know I was going to end up here, but here I am, what they say, putting my business in the street. And yeah, putting it all out there, like, as open and honest and vulnerable as I can be, because this should not happen. This should not happen ever again. If I have anything to do with it, it shouldn't happen. And yeah, I just hope people care enough about children, care enough about families, care enough about a system that is claims to do one thing but often fails to deliver in keeping children safe and families healthy and together, fails. And a lot of people don't even realize that. And yeah, it's upsetting, it's saddening, but the system is flawed in so many ways, and it's flawed for everybody involved. It's flawed for the children that are adopted, it's flawed for the children that are in foster care, it's flawed for the biological families that lose their family member to the system. It's flawed for adoptive parents that aren't fully prepared for the level of sadness and grief that comes from maternal separation trauma. It's the same thing for the foster parents. It's it doesn't even work for the social workers in the system that are overworked and have way too many cases to really make an impact. You know, it's just flawed all the way around. And I think it's going to take a team that has all of those people on it, because we're all going to be looking at the system from a different angle, different direction. And there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work to do. And I would love it if everybody that sees this and hears this would join the Wildflower team so we can talk policy and talk awareness and really getting people that vote to understand what changes need to be made, and to get people to understand that you getting your information from Hollywood is not accurate information. Hollywood is for entertainment purposes. If you want real accurate information about what's going on in child welfare, about what's going on in family welfare, talk to people with lived experience like me. Talk to people who lived through it, who survived it. So many of us don't survive it. So many of us end up homeless, dealing with serious mental illness due to trauma that never got treated, dealing with substance use and abuse, and dealing with ending their lives prematurely, and long-term incarceration. Like, so many of us end up there. And for me, that's too many for me to be thinking the system is working as it claims to work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work the way we need it to work. It may work for a few people at the top making money, but it does not work for the people it needs to work for, which is children and families. So I wrote this book. It is available for pre-order. Get your copy as soon as you can. Get your copy and support this former foster youth adoptee and telling her story and no longer protecting her abusers and proving that people do care. Help me continue to dispel this myth. Nobody cares, nobody cares, nobody cares. Yeah, and at this point, I feel like I wrote this book to inspire other former foster youth and adoptees, as well as foster parents who didn't get supported, as well as birth parents that lost their children, felt coerced, felt sabotage in getting them back, as well as adoptive parents that felt lied to and not prepared for what they were signing up for, as well as social workers who thought they were going to go into this field and really make a difference and found out they actually can't, and their hands are tied around a lot of things. All that needs to be told. So I hope to inspire everybody within the system to tell their story, to tell what their experience has been. And then I also hope to educate people who have no clue about the system, who really have been infected with Hallmark syndrome. They think, oh, everything is wonderful. These children are being saved from horrific situations and given a second chance at having a family. It's wonderful and it's beautiful when that doesn't happen enough. Like, the percentage of happy ending stories is very small, and that needs to change. So I'm hoping to educate people, basically treat their Hallmark syndrome. And then I'm hoping to prevent children from being harmed in the future. So inspiration, education, prevention. And I would just love it if everybody would join the Wildflower team and get involved so we can talk about what steps need to take place to make the changes necessary. So get the book. It's in the bio. And, read other adoptee memoirs as well. Read other former foster youth memoirs as well. So you can see there's a common theme. There's common things that happen in the system. The system somehow is set up to attract the wrong people. The system is somehow set up to attract people with saviorism complex, people that are pedos, people that are narcissists, people that just want to make money off of the system. It's disheartening. It's disappointing. It's enraging. It's upsetting. It's just all bad. With very few lucky stories of people that are like, oh yeah, I was adopted and I had an amazing family. I hear that too far and few in between. Like, oh yeah, I was adopted. I had a wonderful family. They fully supported me and, helped me through whatever emotional changes I had around that. And it was awesome. Like, why that can't be the norm? Oh, because of the way the system is set up. That's why that can't be the norm. And yeah. So yeah, I want to hear from everybody that is system involved. Rather you had a good experience, a bad experience, or an experience that you're indifferent about, like, whatever, it was what it was. It didn't bother me. I want to hear about all of that. We need all of those stories written. So this is me telling my story. Get the book. The book is available. The link is in my bio. And if you can't find the link, let me know. I will gladly give you that link so you can order your copy of my life story. It's taken me 50 years to be strong enough and healed enough to tell my story, to talk about what happened, to want to make a difference. Yeah. Next March, I'll be 51. And I don't think I got to be 50 long enough. Tell you the truth. I'm like, dang, I didn't get to really rub it in. I'm 50. But, I guess I'll just do that with 51. So anyway, if you are watching this in the replay, please do put comments in the comment section. Let me know when you're going to get your copy if you haven't already. Let me know what your thoughts, your feelings are, any questions you may have for me. Literally, I'm an open book, right? At this point. So yeah, let me know. And I look forward to continuing the dialogue. I'm going to be jumping on here, going live as often as I can. Sundays are for sure thing. And then throughout the week, wherever I can steal an hour here and there, I will jump on to see who wants to talk about it. And hopefully people will start to look for me and ask questions. That's the hope. So yeah, wildflowers, because everybody on my team is a wildflower. Go live your wonderful lives because you deserve it. We deserve it. All right. With that, good night.